What's up YouTube, Del here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you another hybrid update thanks to Justice Hunters. This time it is the turn of the almighty powerful Blue Eyes White Dragon with Draco Tales. Now the Draco Tales actually add quite a lot to the Blue Eye strategy if you are a fan of the fusion routes. There's also a couple of gimmicky options in this deck that give you access to stuff like Master Magia and of course Dragoon. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you want to be a bit more creative. I'll talk you through them as we go and then talk about the cards you can sub out if you want it to be more of a competitive serious deck. And this does not involve the Primites for that particular reason. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you miss out on any more upcoming content. Starting off with the Blue Eyes cards, nothing really changes. It's now becoming like a staple engine of a baseline for Blue Eyes with two Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, if you wanted to, you could lean into playing 3 copies. You'd probably then look at Kyberman a bit more. But honestly, I feel that that again is more of a gimmicky option. It's more of a fun option. This is trying to keep the balance without going too high on the deck count while also still maintaining the ability of consistency as well. 3 Maiden of White and 3 Sage with Eyes of Blue. Now, quite like a Primite version, quite like a like other hybrid version, you kind of want Sage to be your additional normal summon because this is the only one that your field spell will allow you to kind of get to. And when you're looking at the Draco Towers, you have 3 brand new monsters, but 2 of them are the only bridges of like being a level 4 or lower dragon or spellcaster. The one that you want to be reviving or utilizing a little bit more is the Lucius, and you can play 3 of this if you want to, and I'll talk about this more when I get to it. For the rest of the Blue Eyes cards itself, again, pretty straightforward on that one. 3 Wishes, 1 Raw, Mausoleum, True Light, and Majesty. Like, I can't imagine anything else being like a lineup for the Blue Eyes cards themselves. Like, this is like the baseline, in my opinion. So now on to what you're here for, the Draco Towers. So let's start off with my personal favourite and probably the favourite card of the entire Draco Tail strategy. 3 of the Dracotail Fey Mina. So this card is insane because this is your hand trap. This is the equivalent of your Canine Izuna, and obviously also alongside that being your Holly Sue. So during the main phase, so yours or your opponent's, you get a quick event to discard this card and then fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field. Now keep in mind if this is turn 0 during your opponent's turn, you're only going to be able to use your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you get to set a Dracotail spell or trap from the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn. So the fact that this acts as a hand trap is absolutely insane. And the benefit of something like that is it can, technically, depending on what you have in the hand, work you into something like a Dragon Master Magia. It can work you into a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. It can also work you into a Secturion Dragon as well. So I do like that aspect of it, and I have lent into that factor of this particular version of the deck a little bit more by utilizing a card that I'll show you very shortly that can kind of fill in those gaps of the missing Dark Magician, or in some cases maybe a missing Red Eyes. So you've got that ability of what you want to utilize it. Red Eyes not towards the Dragoon, but if you wanted to play in Red Eyes is what I mean, that's what it could kind of act with. Then we've got 2 of the Lucius. So this one is if it is normal or special, you get to add a Dracotail monster from the deck to your hand except itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you get to set a Dracotail spell or trap. So the idea is that you get to normal summon this card, you add the Fan Mail, that's the card you're going to, Famina, sorry, that's the card you're going to want to be going to. This card's just absolutely insane and you hold it back as a hand trap. We've then got the 1 Mululu. So during the main phase, you get a quick event to fusion summon a Dracotail fusion monster from the extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, but you can't special from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. It's more so its send effect that you're going to want to utilize, because if it's sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you get to set a Dracotail spell or trap. Then you get to negate the effects of one face-up monster your opponent controls. So the idea is you want to use this as fusion material, using stuff like your Fanma, but also using Famina, sorry, but also using stuff like the Ketu Dracotail and the Rahu Dracotail as well. The last monster we are playing is the 1 Urgla. So if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a fusion summon, you get to set a Dracotail spell or trap from the deck. Then you get to destroy a spell or trap on the field. If this card is in the graveyard, you get to target a spellcaster Dracotail monster in your graveyard, place this card on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, add that card back to the hand. So it's ways that you can recycle both these cards here, which is why it's being utilized. On to the fusion spells themselves. Now, we are still missing a quick play fusion spell. I'm hoping that one day we're going to get that. But for now, the Ketu Dracotail is basically a Rota and a fusion spell. So this allows you to add a Dracotail monster from the deck to the hand, and then if your opponent controls a monster, you get to fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster from the extra deck using monsters from the hand or field. You can only activate 1 Ketu Dracotail per turn. So this is kind of a card I was considering maybe cutting down on, but I was like, going first, it's my rotor for consistency. Going second, it's just my ability of a rotor for consistency, but then it doubles up as a fusion play as well. I've then got the one Rahul Dracotail. So the reason I've got free Ketu is it lets you get into a spellcaster or a dragon, whereas the Rahul only lets you get into a Dracotail. So you fusion summon a Dracotail monster from the extra deck using monster from the hand, deck, or field as material. But for the rest of the duel, after this card resolves, you can't special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters. Now the benefit of something like this is it lets you use the hand, deck, or field. Now, when you're trying to get into something like this one, like your Dracotail and Arthleon, you can't really use that because unless you want to use the one in the hand, you kind of want to maximize the ability to utilize your deck with this. So if you're going to something like this, you need to use a Dracotail monster from the deck, great, and then a monster in the hand. So it's usable, but you kind of want to utilize it during your opponent's turn more times than not. Which is why I'm kind of hoping this was a quick play, would have been so much better. The other one you can utilize is the Glumel. So this one requires a Dracotail monster and again a monster in the hand. So your options are a little bit more restricted, which is why I decided to go for one of this rather than more. Like if this did Spellcaster or Dragon as well, it would be broken because then it's basically a Shaddoll fusion without any requirements, and then it lets you get into a Dragoon using monsters from material. Yes, it locks you into fusion summoning, but then it kind of ups the Red Eyes fusion, which is insane. Then we're playing two of the trap cards, one of the Horn and one of the Flame. So the Horn targets a tap position monster on the field, you return it to the hand or the extra deck, and then you get to place a Dracotail card from your graveyard or banishment to the bottom of the deck, except itself, and then draw a card. The Flame, again, lets you target a face-up spell or trap on the field, negate its effects until the end of the turn, and then you place a Dracotail card from your graveyard or banishment onto the bottom of the deck, and then draw one card. So they're kind of cool draw options, but they're also ways of being able to disrupt your opponent. Now, the spicy card that is going to be used as your substitute, I am playing free King of the Swamp. Now, you don't have to play this. This is just a gimmick, but I like the fact that it allowed me to get into Dragoon and it allowed me to get into the Master Magia. Now, for the Master Magia, it treats itself as Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, which is for the Dragoon, it treats itself as Dark Magician. So it's a gimmick option. They're kind of what you're going for, but what I love the idea of is if I open up King of the Swamp, and then the corresponding pieces, probably more consistently to use a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because you just need to have an effect Dragon Monster, whereas with the Magia, I would need to specifically open up the Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman. It was just kind of like a nice little gimmick that I thought was really funny to use. But this is free cards you can take out, and then this is where you start looking at your Primite engine instead. Moving on to the supporting cards. In the supporting cards, just to get us consistency for the Dragon Master Magia, I'm playing the Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman and the Gateway of Chaos. Now this is probably maybe the brickiest version of it. The other ways you can do this is you would utilize an actual Blue Eyes Chaos Max, and then you could utilize stuff like your Kaiser Seahorse. You could also utilize Maiden. The reason I didn't want to utilize Maiden was because it makes you go down a specific route that doesn't let you utilize your Lucas as your main normal summon, because your Sage needs to be your main normal summon and your Maiden would need to be your extra normal summon. So this was the engine that I felt I had the most easiest access to, for the pure fact that when you go into Ancient Fairy Dragon of your extra deck, you would destroy your own Mausoleum, you'd grab your Gateway of Chaos, you'd activate the Gateway of Chaos, grab your Legendary Swordsman, that's your Blackluster Soldier monster that you need for the Magia, add a King of Swamp into that one, and I now have the ability to make Master Magia during my turn or my opponent's turn, depending if I want to hold back the Finnail or not. And then for the final ones are just your hand traps of choice, so utilize these as you see fit. I've gone with Ash, Droll, and Fluelos. Again, utilize whatever hand traps you feel are most useful for you. We're kind of in this period right now that anywhere from like a quarter to a third of your deck needs to be some sort of either hand traps or field breakers. When you're playing hybrid decks like this that you want to be making fun and a little bit more gimmicky, you're going to need to be able to reduce that spot. You can get rid of your King of the Swamps. They can become your Infinite Impermanences. They can become your Perulias. It really is up to you, and you adapt the deck depending on the environment you want to take this to. At the end of the day, if you're trying to go to a YCS, if you're trying to go to a regional and you want to play Blue Eyes, you're probably going to be pushing more for the Primite version than anything, as that is the most competitive version in my opinion. Moving on to the extra deck, let's go over the fusion monsters. So I'll save the Dracotail fusion monsters for the last, just because most of the other ones are pretty self-explanatory. So the two cards that are going to need your substitutes in the form of your King of the Swamp will be your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and your Dragon Master Magia. Pretty much already touched on what these do. You don't get the pop effects of your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, but you will get the ability of having an Omni Negate. And the best thing of something like that is if you do it during your opponent's turn, you will be active. The biggest downside of that is you will burn through 4 cards in your hand, because you would need to use King of the Swamp in the hand, you would need to use your Dracotail Fenmena, you would then also need to utilize a Dragon Effect monster, and then you need to use a discard of your Dragoon. So you'd be drawing for turn with 2 cards, the one remaining card in hand and the one for the top deck of the turn. So that gives you just enough to work your way into a Wishes into Sage. But then remember, as soon as you activate Wishes and discard, your Dragoon is not live, so you just go Ash, you're like, oh, bruh. So you've got to be a little bit careful. That's why I consider this as a gimmick. It's the exact same reason I can consider the Dragon Master Magia as a gimmick, because the only way you make it turn 0 during your opponent's turn is if you hard open up one of in the form of the Blackluster Soldier and then the King of the Swamp. Very gimmicky. There's no ways to search those pieces apart from the Blackluster Soldier. You can make them more consistent if you want to. Utilize Primite Fusion. You can utilize cards like the Blue Eyes Ultimate Fusion. It really is up to you. These are gimmick options. Like I said, you sub them out for anything else you want to make more consistent. The other cards that we utilise off of the back of the Dracotail plays will be your Secturion Dragon. Now the reason this is probably the most effective of all of them is it loses 100 attack for each of your banished cards. While you control this Fusion Summon card, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special summon dragons or spellcaster monsters they control. You can also target a dragon and a spellcaster monster in the graveyard, special summon one, and if you do, you place the other on the bottom of the deck. So the benefit of something like this is if you were to use the Lucius as fusion material, not only will you get to set a fusion spell card, being one of your Dracotails, but then if you make your Secturion Dragon, you can actually bring it back, and then it will allow you to add a Dracotail monster from the deck to the hand. So I love that kind of combo piece and orientation for it, which is why this card is like a must-have for this particular strategy hybrid. Blue Eyes Tyrant and Blue Eyes Ultimate, pretty straightforward and simple on that one. And then for the Dracotails, obviously we've got the Glugamel, and then of course we do have the Artrillion. So this one, again, when you activate a Dracotail card or effect, you get a quick effect to target a card your opponent controls and destroy it. And then if 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time while this card is in the graveyard, except during damage state, you get to special on this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. And then your boss monster, so to say, is if it is fusion summoned, you get to target monsters on the field and or graveyards up to the number of monsters used as material from the hand, return them to the hand. If 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time while it is in the graveyard, etc. in damage state, you special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So the benefit of something like this is you again can use it during your opponent's turn, but remember when you're doing that, the big benefit is it will allow you to technically use 2 cards in your hand because you discard the Finnail. Then you would utilize a Dracotail monster and then a monster in the hand, so it would let you return 2 cards. So you could bring back the Mina to the hand. Or of course you could just bounce back 2 of your opponent's monsters. I keep saying Finmel, it's not, it's like a Mana. And I don't know where I got Finmel from. Like, that's just crazy. So the Mana, oh dear. The Mana is the card you want to be looping. And then for your generic, like, cards in Blue Eyes, so you've got your Hieratic Seals. You can use SP Little Knight if you want, but we're just going to be going with 2 Spirits. And then we are opening up the spaces of a 2 Blue Eyes Spirits with the 1 Ultimate Spirit Dragon. And then the other targets that come off the back of your Spirit Dragon will be optional depending on what you want to try and get access to. But you ideally want the Ancient Fairy Dragon if you want to utilize the Dragon Master Magia. And then the other one you want to consider would be something like a Lightstorm Dragon. You can use the Ancient Fairy of Life if you want to. You can utilize any other dragons that will be more effective for you. Like I said, this is a bit of a gimmick. If you wanted to take the gimmicks out, then straight away you take out Ancient Fairy Dragon, you take out the Dragon Master Magia, you take out your Dragoon. That frees up 3 extra deck spaces, and then that's when you can kind of like adapt and build from that point on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. If you don't have any questions at all, by all means, please let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see like a combo video of this deck or like a test stand video for this deck to kind of see it in action and how kind of the hybrids work between the two, then just let me know in the comments. And if you get the video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I'll be more than happy to do so for you. Anyway, for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and of course, happy dueling.